Gremlins done got damn y'all stand by.
Hey, it's all good. I'm in the background. I'm here somewhere. Uh,
I see him.
yeah, I'm on here somewhere. Gremlins is trying to work. The devil stay busy. But this how we do, man. It's two mics up. It's Tuesday night. I don't know what's going on. We doing this without our Facebook feed tonight. But for those of you joining us here on YouTube and Twitch, uh, keep it popping with us, man. You know we appreciate you joining us, and we gonna just get into it. We got some feedback somewhere, but we're gonna work to correct that. Feedback is gone. Thank you for joining us. Go ahead and drop your comments. Let us know where you are joining us from tonight. We are continuing Black History Month, and we talking about canceled or called out. And I'm really excited about this conversation because it, it just seems like over the last couple of years, man, this definitely has been a strong and growing topic. A lot of people been catching bodies and all kind of craziness that's been going on. But we're gonna try to jump into that tonight. That's gonna be the meat of our conversation. But like we always do, we want to start with our opening segment. Here on Two Mics Up, which is actually being presented by our friends over at Chico Rico Hot Sauce. You know, Spicy never tastes so good. And if you haven't gone out and got yours yet, make sure you do. Man, it's black owned, Afro Latino, man. And I'm a big fan and big follower. So make sure you go get yours today. But I want to start out, in the entertainment section in the entertainment world with my brothers here, Cliff and Sam. Brothers are looking real fresh, looking real good tonight. Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
I'm not
Uh,
homeless today. Dapper Dan.
Never that. You know what I'm saying? You always got a place to be, and Big Sam, he be holding it down. But these brands, man, that we're talking about being canceled, or there have been some, I should say, that have experienced cancel culture. There's some out there that we can probably just drop off the top of our heads. First thing comes to my mind. First two, really, it's Aunt Jemima and Kanye. You know what I'm saying? So I'm curious, gentlemen, like to hear from you and your aspect when we talk about brands that have experienced that. Are there any that others that maybe come to your mind, or one that you would like to speak on specifically? Has there been any impact for you, or has there been any thought change to you when it comes to those products? I see Cliff, you just jumped the nine, so I'm going to go ahead and start with you, Cliff.
Um, one when I saw this question, I really was dwelling upon it. You know, um, One for me that really touched was Fubu, right?
Mm,
Fubu
mm,
when I was younger, right? And the meaning of it for us by us, that's something that I thought was going to be around forever, right? That's what
right,
got me into the whole entrepreneurial spirit at a young
right,
age, right? In New York, I had New York, you have a store that you sell a little of everything, right? So even though I
right.
had a cell phone store, I was still selling. I was going to Manhattan and get my black soaps, my incense, you know what I'm saying? Some sneakers, some jeans, and selling it inside the store with my cell phones, right? So,
Right.
and that came from the motivation of Fubu, right?
Right.
And to see that fade away, it was like, why? Right?
Mm,
Then who on and I blame outside, right? That's on us,
right.
right? As a culture. Why did it fade away? How come not
Mm,
more investors, people with money, invest more into that business, right? Because
Right.
look what it created. Without Fubu, you wouldn't have had Fat Farm. Without Fat Farm, Baby Fat. I'm sorry,
Right.
Fat Farm and Baby Fat. Without there, you wouldn't have had Sean John. You wouldn't have had Rockaware. So it kept going on. But why not keep the home base of what paved the way and opened the doors? Why not keep that going? Because shoot, look what's still around. Guess is still around, right?
Yeah.
Levi is still around, right? So why not Fubu? So that was that really came to mind that I thought was going to be a legacy and a brand that just because times have changed, change with the times. But the core and the name of the business and the meaning of it, to me, should have stayed on the plateau.
Sam, anything for you?
I don't have any that are too big. I mean, you brought them up, especially Cliff, and I was thinking about too, just in reference to how some of these brands, it feels as if a lot of the brands that we talked about, one way or another, I don't want to say that they sold out, but it goes from being, we get the concept of for us, by us, or keeping that brand within our culture. But I think when the marketing with some of these labels and brands extend beyond that, then that's when that's where we find the insult at. And then I think that's where a lot of the fan base tend to digress from. Because you're right. Think about where Rockaware started and where Rockaware ended up at. Because Rockaware started looking more like Hilfiger or Polo versus the brand that we had. And like, I get it as far as like you come up, you move up. So like, of course you want to elevate yourself too. But the folks that are still on ground level, I think that they kind of took an insult to that. So then that's when you start losing that fan base and everything. I mean, it'd be more difficult now just because of the muddled situation that, not necessarily muddled, but everybody is looking the same. So it wouldn't hurt for Fubu to come back. It wouldn't hurt for, Rockaware to come back. Or, they could just be like lost assets, and because the head folks of those brands done elevated and everything, it's like they don't care about it anymore either. So I think that's where the other insult come at too, because I'm pretty sure Fubu could have still had like a long lasting legacy. The same thing with Carl Kanai. The same thing with Cross Color. Because I remember Cross Colors used to be my joint, even though I used to hate them red jeans because they bleed on you in the instant and turn pink, and everything else pink too. Yep. Yeah, hey, look, you have to watch them joints by themselves specifically. But like, even Paco was a thing, and it felt being younger, it felt really good to wear those brands, and like, I still wish that they were kind of around now, because I would just want to see where they would be at as far as their creativity, and like I said, keeping that brand within that would. We so based on nostalgia and everything, like, we grow up too, and it would have just been fine to grow up with those brands because, like you said earlier, Dane, we done seen it with all the other brands that are still out there today. So how come, our brands wasn't afforded that opportunity?
Right. And I think that's really the bigger question, for whatever reason, I don't know if it's fads or just how people are, when it comes to things. They get bored, or fashion changes, so fast. But like these other brands, they tend to stay around and continue to evolve, while our brands just get totally dismissed. And then you have, things like even like with the Kanye situation, it seemed like, he had found, I guess, that magic pill or that magic key. But do you think his situation was more personal? And was it more personal to people in our community? or was that like the adverse effect of, just him, his personality? Like, what do you guys think about that? Because that was something that was really more recent, in our cultural history, as far as a clothing line and a celebrity, kind
I'll
of
take this one.
hit the stage together. Go ahead, I mean, Sam. I'm sorry.
No, I'll keep it easy. It was an issue until he came over there and rebranded everything
Mm,
and discounted and made it affordable. And then people start going out and repurchasing it again.
Mm.
mm,
And
mm.
that's point blank and simple. When he was with Adidas and he went
Good point.
super far left and everybody was like, yo, what the hell is going on? Like that was the issue. And then that's when Adidas came over there and dropped them and everything. And they were like they reissued the gear, but it was from a different light. It's gone on up, but they reissued it from a different light. But then when Yeezy, like if you go on the Yeezy site now, perfect example was when the slides came out. Everybody was excited for the slides and them goddamn socks with the sole on the bottom of them. I don't know, I can't remember what they were called, but they sold out so quick. And
Yeah, they
why?
did.
Because on Adidas, the Yeezy slides were like $120 or something like that. He was
Right.
selling them for $20 on his site, and you can probably look it up right now. They were for like $20. So
Right.
that became the shift right there. So it's like, yeah, I'm still pissy at him, but I can't sit here and turn away from this doggone like $20 is $20. That's a good ass
Right.
deal. So
Right.
I think that's what it became. The issue versus being cost effective, and now everybody's like, well, shit, I need to get on board with this.
Right. And you bring up a good point, really, that kind of leads into our next segment, really, which I'm gonna turn over to you, Sam, but we talk about sports, right? And one of the things, uh, which when it comes to shoes, we had like the Stephon Marbury, when he had the
Mhm.
Starberry shoes and different things like
Yep.
that. Um, it wasn't until he basically blew his ankle out through the shoe, is
Yeah.
when we seen kind of his demise in the sneaker and different things. But I'm curious, when it comes to NBA players, is that a different playing field when it comes to sports, or is that something that you would signal or fall in line with something like a Kanye West situation? You know, I guess in similarity, but with that, would you say that was the same cause and effect when it came to Starberry and his shoes?
No, and that's the funny part about it because, like, I remember going to what was that spot on Potomac Hill? Was it? It wasn't. I want to say Ben and Jerry's, but I know that's ice cream. It was like Dave and something, Steve and Dave, something like that. But it was kind of like a
Hmm.
college theme
Right.
store,
Hmm.
because of course college is expensive, so they had like lower cost clothes there. And Starberries was over there,
Yeah.
and like I think I believe the issue was it was the reversed effect because everybody saw the price tag because I think he had shoes started off at like $15 because he wanted
Yeah.
to sit there and make everything affordable to the underprivileged. But then he got clowned for making cost effective shoes and sneakers, that people could wear. And, now everybody's like, well, I don't want no goddamn Starberries or, pointing at your shoes and everything like, look at this
Right.
clown or
Right.
whatnot. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? So it's I don't know. It's like that reverse effect. Or look at and one.
Mm.
Remember in the late 90s, early 2000s,
Another
and
one.
ones was like all the rave, right? And
Yep.
now you can
Yep.
go to Walmart and pick up a pair of and ones, for $15-$20 when we were paying almost 5 times as much,
Right.
for those shoes, earlier in the day. So I don't, it's that weird pendulum, you know what I'm saying? So it's kind of
Yeah.
hard we we want you to be successful. And here he is trying to give back to the community, and then the community turns around and shits on him for what he was
Yep.
trying to do was make
Yeah.
an affordable shoe. Versus
Yeah.
people were spending hundreds of dollars on Kanye and was like, well, I'm not rocking Adidas, I'm not rocking Yeezys or whatever, and then turn right back around and like I said, once he discounted his stuff, everybody's going haywire. And
Hmm.
yeah, Shaq's too. Hey,
Yeah.
look, Shaq
Yeah,
said some good
Shaq.
too.
Yeah.
But on the flip side, though, like Shaq even said it, like his brand, not the Reebok brand, but Shaq's alone, he says he makes 10+ million a year off of shoe sales and everything. So I guess it's like who's the face of it versus
Mm.
here's something that we're trying to put out there. Because even with Reebok, like Reebok was the same way. You could get Reeboks at we got a little hick store called Gabe's over here, and I was seeing Reeboks in
Yeah.
there. And now you go online and you try to buy a pair of Angel Reese's or you try to get, a pair of AIs, and there you go back in those high figures again. So it really just like I said, it really just is dependent on who's the face of that product and whether people are sold on them or if they're just going to sit there and blow them off.
Yeah, that's facts. That's facts. And I'm going to go ahead and continue on, because with the sports and like Doug said, I believe it. I mean that's all facts and everything. But I want to turn to something that you had mentioned. When we were talking about earlier, during the week as we were preparing for this conversation, and it really falls into, I guess, cancel culture or whatever it is. It's more about the NBA All-Star weekend, or the lack thereof, or whatever. But I'm going to pass the baton to you, Sam. Please go ahead and get
Okay.
to that, man, because I thought that was a very interesting point that you brought up.
All right, I'm gonna roll it up with the whole weekend. All right, so Friday you had the celebrity game. It was Team Giannis against Team Anthony. Team Giannis won. I was looking at the celebrities and I didn't know half of them. I know Drewski was running around and Glorilla. And then it was crazy because I want to say like the MVP of it was a former NBA player with Taco Fall. He's like 7'10". So it's like, what the hell are you doing? You should be playing in the All-Star game, not the celebrity All-Star game. Mad confused about that. Then Saturday you had the skills challenge. I know it was a lot of team representatives, but Cliff, Dane, Team Knicks won. You know what I'm saying? That was and Cat.
We was out there. We was out there representing. Yeah, we was out there
We
representing.
a lot of side trophies. We're winning a lot of side trophies.
Hey, look.
The side trophies.
Hey, look. We got to award the small wins too. All right.
Hey, we'll take them. We'll take them.
3-point contest was won by a man with one Achilles, with Dame Lillard. So riddle me that.
This Bama ain't played one game all year, and
all
you
year.
mean to tell me he had the flex? I mean, he was jumping to come out, and do that, and then we probably won't see him for the rest of the year anyway. I was like, yo, what kind of BS is this, man? That really pissed me off. I was like,
it was a toss-up between him and Devin Booker.
Right.
Devin Booker couldn't come in clutch when he needed to. All right. And then there was the dunk contest, y'all. Jeez. I'm just going to skip this one because it's going to roll up in some of my questions a little bit later. But there was a dunk contest. Shaw Johnson won this year.
Cool.
And moving forward, Sunday, we had USA versus the world. All right.
Hold on. That's a shame. Can you believe we're at this point right now?
Hey, wait. Hey, Cliff, I'm gonna get to it because I have some questions for y'all. You know what I'm saying? Let me knock out Sunday real quick, and then we'll circle back to it. All right.
Okay.
So Sunday, new format with the All-Star game. They had USA versus the world. There was 2 USA teams with stars and stripes. The stars being your more seasoned NBA players, as far as LeBron, KD. Who else was out there on that squad?
Exactly.
LeBron, KD. Oh, Jaylen Brown. He was on that team too. Then you had Team Stripes that had, your young up and comers, as far as like Anthony Edwards, and he's about the only one that I remember on that squad too. And then you had the world team. Now the world team was stacked because they had Luka, they had Joker. They had SGA, They had Wemby.
Mhm.
They had a whole plethora of teams, or
Right.
not teams, but teammates on that squad.
Right. International
Just so
style.
happened,
Right.
international style. Just so happened that Team Stripes went ahead and took the win. Young crowd. Anthony Edwards was labeled the MVP, and that's how that went. You saw Wemby on Team World pissed off because yeah, they do have elite shooters. However, Joker and goddamn Luca don't play no defense. So that's
At
what
all.
happened with that. So that's why they went 0-2 in the mix of that. Hey, what's going on, DeVay? So let's circle back. So my first question to y'all is like how did y'all honestly how did y'all feel about All-Star this weekend? Like collectively, because I know we text and it was a whole bunch of question marks going around, period.
I'm gonna let Cliff go. I'm gonna let Cliff get on that one.
We almost had a catastrophe. Jason Richard's son home back. You know what I mean? It's not the same. It's just not the same. We saw it, right? We saw it coming down like that when Blake Griffin was jumping over cars. You know what I mean?
Right.
I showed my son watched on NBA TV the dunk contests that was in the 90s. And you would have thought he was watching a show that he never seen before. He was so amped. I've been watching All-Star Game, slam dunk contests with my son for a minute. And he has never been as excited. I was like, wow. The Vince Carter year, they showed that dunk contest. With J.R. Ryder when he threw with the between the legs. You know what I mean? The creativity is just gone. You know, they either repeating what was shown back in the day, or they're doing something off the wall that they're gonna almost kill themselves. You know what I mean? And to that point, I mean, you either got people in the G League coming in or newer guys. The older guys need to lead the way, right? If they lead the way, it will bring more motivation, I think, more excitement, right? And then it would change. It would change the whole game. So I am one of them that believe that some of the older players that been in the league that got hops that could still jump through the roof should still participate. Because at the end of the day, it's about them fans. You know, them ticket prices in All-Star games is what? You know, so give them their money's worth. You know what I mean? They don't want to see Cliff Durham coming in for a dunk contest. Like, what? You know what I mean? They want to see an Anthony Edwards. You know what I mean? They want to see a Donovan Mitchell, a Jalen Brown. You know.
I'm just gonna be honest with you. It's a waste of time now. We've gotten to a point where the activities really don't need to happen. Let's just go ahead and get straight to the game itself. And this new format, I am not a fan of at all. We got four different games going on, and to lead to a championship matchup type of thing. I think let's just get back to the game and let's put some money on the line, or put a conference home court advantage for the finals on the line, to make it really competitive, right? Because who doesn't love money, and who's not looking at, like, for real, if you're a LeBron James at the back into your career, you're still competitive. People still believe the Lakers have a chance, and your conference gets home court advantage in the finals. Like, who doesn't want to compete for that, right? And I just think for the fans, it would make it more interesting, because then it would really make us want to tune in, because somewhere in the game you might get that chance, like it was in the old school, where you have those matchups where the best are guarding the best, they're defending against each other. And like Cliff said, for someone who's actually showing up to buy tickets to sit in the stands and actually watch this game, it'll be more competitive and more fun, instead of you sitting there on your phone, texting, going through your social media, selfies and all kind. Because that's really what it seems like. going on through when you watch the game on TV, nobody's really engaged in the game anymore as a fan. So I just think let's put something on this that's gonna make it more competitive. All of this USA versus the world and all of these so-called skill performance move, like just get rid of it. Bring in a DJ,
Right.
have a party. You know what I'm saying?
Uh,
That's just my opinion,
And
But hey,
Right.
I don't know.
The NBA Cup is exciting. Why? Because each player wins like what, $500,000 each player, from the first
that,
to the last man on the bench.
but that's big for the
That's
last man on the bench who's not making that big money, right? So 9, 10, 11, 12, they're getting the potential of an extra 500 grand in their pocket, which
that's a
again, as teammates or whatever, like I love that about the Knicks. That was the story really for them. They really wanted to go out and win the cup for the guys that are on the back end of the bench. So I agree with you. Give some type of incentive. Make this a little more and incentivize for these guys who want to go out and play.
facts.
I think the CBA screwed up All-Star Weekend.
Mm,
And the only reason
okay.
why I say that is because, like, hey, me and you, we've been talking about it for a while. As
Yep.
far as you had no name, 2-star, 1-star players getting max contracts when the CBA was first released, and everybody else was kind of pocketing things up until a couple of more years where they were going to increase because they were getting the TV deal and everything.
Right.
And for me, that was kind of the cusp of like, I don't need to be out here because I got a max contract. I don't
Mhm.
I don't need a it goes from being about the fans, giving the fans a show and representing your conference or your division versus like they're literally scraping the barrel. I mean, you can see with previous performances of people laying on the court, lobbing it from beyond the half court line, not playing any defense, not even suiting up, getting the
That
ballot,
part.
getting the vote, and not even showing up to All Star break. It's too complacent now. There's no dog
Mhm.
because everybody's eating, and I think that's one of the problems with the NBA right now is that like I don't need to be a high level athlete, you know what I'm saying, to get a multi-million-dollar contract. And that's just because of how far the NBA roots done spread because now we're in hundreds of countries versus just being
Mhm.
isolated to like one region. You know what I'm saying?
True.
Or
That's a good point.
basically with the Northern Hemisphere over here with us too. So I think that has something to impact it as well too. I do agree that something should be on the line at this point. And look at if you looked at the stands in the arena the whole weekend, half them
Mhm.
joints was empty. It kind of
Yeah.
reminded me of when WWE they just had the Royal Rumble out in Saudi, and in order
Mhm.
to try to sit here and compensate to make it look like it was a pump crowd, it had like lights everywhere. So as soon
Yep.
as I saw that in the arena, I was like, them some empty ass seats, and that's why they have the lights dim because there's another
Yep.
brand or other brands too that if I don't have a big enough crowd, let me dim the lights a little bit. Let me make it
Mhm.
seem a little bit more elusive and personal when you don't want to pan to the outside and let us know there ain't nobody there.
That's right.
Thirdly, like half these shits was going on in the afternoon and I didn't even know. I got
Right.
a text that the 3-point contest happened. And I'm like, damn, it's still sunlight outside. So that
Yeah,
means
I
it's like
missed it.
two. Yeah, I'm like, it's like 2, 3 o'clock. I'm like, it's like 2, 3 o'clock on the West Coast. I'm like, what the hell is going on right now?
Yeah.
Like, who
Yeah.
has a dunk contest at doggone 4:15 in the afternoon? You know what I'm
It's
saying?
terrible, bro.
Unless you're doing street ball. So it was they should just make it a bye week, have everybody reset if they want to sit here and maybe extend the trade deadline up until
Mm.
then, have like some type of break and they could work that out and everything. I think that would be the goal, but like either do that or just don't do it at all because it's becoming to the point that it's just not worth it. And on top of that, since the dunk contest is so lackluster, I think the 3-point contest should be like the highlight of the evening
Agreed.
because don't
Agreed.
nobody care about the dunk contest anymore. The last good one was Aaron Gordon and Zach Levine.
Zach,
That was
yeah,
the last.
that was a great one.
That was the last like true, two true hoppers. You know what I'm saying? That was a display, a clinic right there, and they haven't been able to rebound ever since.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I say cancel it, like you said, and make the if you're not like you said, make the 3 point make that the shootout, make that the highlight of the weekend because that seems to be the most competitive thing. And I'll be honest with you, in to Cliff's point, um the NBA also, I mean, how many different type of dunks can you really do at this point?
Right,
Right?
right.
We
But that's the
you we
issue. They were so simplified. Did y'all watch any of the highlights of the weekend?
yeah, I did.
Because all those dunks were simplified. Even the
Mm-hmm.
one that old dude almost killed himself on, when they were lobbing it off the doggone back on the side of the backboard to dunk. Like all of those were like mad simple. I forgot who it was, but he went to the opposite end of the court. We thinking that he's gonna do like a 3-point or a free throw line dunk, and he went in front of like the free throw line.
Yep.
And I'm like, my man, you ain't got no hops. You did all of that, cradled the ball and everything for like. I was like,
from like 8 feet. Yeah.
Yeah.
No creativity, no nothing, man.
Mm-hmm.
You know. Well, we can scratch that. You know, did you have? Yeah, pack it up. You pack it up. You had any other points or anything that you wanted to make for the All-Star weekend before we transition?
Well, I do feel like contrary, I do believe that since they're a world brand, that it should be. I think that they could build on that more and make it NBA versus the world. You know what I'm saying? Or invite some, and I know it won't be the same quality, but you do have other since since the NBA has a lot of other like subdivisions, like bring some of that talent in, you know, for All-Star weekend. So you globalize it a little bit more. Already set the 3-point contest as the main event. Either we need celebrities. I don't know what Adam Silver needs to do. I think that they should get some street dunkers and have them go against NBA dunkers. And I think if something like that happens, and if you put it on that scale, and if these street ballers could come in and like shit and embarrass the NBA, you know what I'm saying? I think then that might light a fire for us getting, you know, I would say Ja Morant, Anthony Edwards, some of our like finesse dunkers and everything. To me, and put a cash prize on it too. You know what I'm saying? Make it $1 million or $2 million winner, and then I think take away the celebrity game because don't nobody know the celebrities, and like how you were saying earlier, I would just make it a party. You know what I'm saying? Have a lot of people come in, make it like that inauguration, like kickoff, and start it off with a bang and everything. That's how I would set that up. So if there's any takeaways, I think that those are the 4 ways that they could try to fix it. But something needs to change.
Well, look, I think from where we stand right now, I think we all agree that we could go ahead and cancel the NBA All-Star weekend as it's currently formatted because it's some straight doggy do. They can go ahead and pack that up. But as we're rolling on, and we're really going to jump into really the meat of tonight's conversation about canceled or called out. I want to start with the cultural appropriation part. And this segment is going to be featured by our friends over at 94 Media House. If you're a small small business company and you really need digital design help, make sure you reach out to 94 Media House, man. They can really help get you set up and get you going. But we're talking about, cultural appropriation and annihilation. And I want to ask you guys, at what point does cultural appropriation become, outright appropriation? And for the culture, really being borrowed from. And, is there damage fundamentally, in your opinion, whether it be financially, theft or intellectual property, or is it something that is strictly a matter of disrespect? And Cliff even leaned all the way back. I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna give you that one.
Because I got mixed feelings about it, right?
Mm.
It could be a form of flattery because what we do is spicy, right? What we do is hot. So we are trendsetter. So we
Mm.
expect you to take a little of a little ingredients of what we have and put it into your own. Don't take the whole daggone barrel now. You know what I mean? Don't take the whole pot, but you can you're gonna take a little ingredient from here, a little ingredient from there, and put it together. Um, so at the same time, I know we like to be the creator and let it be known at all times, and that's just not how, in my opinion, that's just not how corporate America is designed for, right? And if you did create it, but someone else has more funds or finances to make it even bigger, now you're going to now you're gonna drop, right? Is it fair? No, but that's the way competition is. That's the way some people that lacks creativity. The best way is to pick, right? To pick it from somewhere else. So at the same time, appreciate it, right? Because obviously you're doing something hot. You're doing something hot. That's how I look at it. Something take a someone takes a business idea from me, and I know I should have copywritten it or I should have promoted it more. If I didn't do my due diligence, don't get upset if somebody else took it, right? Because if it was that, you should have been more on top of your business. Because that's another way somebody could take your idea if you don't grab hold of it real tight and mark your name on it, all right, and let it be known. So when somebody else do repeat it or copy it, if you want to call it, the public would know. Okay, well, you got that from TD3. How do I know? Because TD3 copywritten it, promoted it real hard, and somebody else does take it. Now it looks like TD3 opened the door. If you don't, it would look like somebody just took it, right?
Mm.
And then took it and ran with it, right? And then now you're getting mad, like, oh, he got that from me. Now you want to promote how they got it from you, but you didn't do nothing to secure it. So that's saying when people say secure the bag, that's some real stuff. That is that is very real. So you could appreciate it, flattery, or you could feel offended. It's all on how it's all on how you look at it.
You brought up some very
You
good
brought up
points
some very
on
good
that.
points on that.
And I have
And I have
I have some
I
thoughts on
have
it,
some
but I'm
thoughts
gonna go
on it,
ahead.
but
I'm
I'm
gonna
going to
I'm
go
gonna
ahead.
tag Sam
I'm going
in
to tag Sam
and see what Sam got to say on that.
I actually agree with that because
because
I mean I learned from the
I
music.
learned from the
It ain't
music.
trademark,
It ain't trademark,
and it really ain't
and
cool.
it really ain't cool.
And I mean, just think
And
of the
I
history
mean, just think
we
of the
went
history
through with
we
music
went
and the
through with
different
music
artists.
and
Everybody
artists.
talks about
Everybody talks
who's the
about
king of this,
who's
who's
the
the
king
original,
of this, who's the
that.
original.
You know,
You know,
eventually the word
eventually
of it leads back to
back
African
to
Americans,
African Americans,
and
and
that's really what I have
that's really what I
at it
have
at the end of the day.
added at
Because
the
I'm
end of the day
thinking,
because
just
I can just
I look at different
look
scenarios.
at
Like
different scenarios. Like
I'll say dancing,
I'll
right?
say dancing, right?
And
And
we have
we
different
have
art forms, different
different
art styles.
art styles.
But as soon as
But as
somebody
soon
else
as
do it,
somebody else do
then
it,
it becomes
then it
like, oh
becomes
wow,
like,
this is
oh wow,
amazing, and I can't believe that they're doing these ticks or these moves like that. But it's items that we've been doing for a while. So I think that's where it gets kind of challenging. It's not a it becomes a it's funny when we do it, it's just it's the norm. But when somebody outside of our space picks it up and do it, then it becomes a trend or a fad, and then they start to get the credit for it. Whether it's in the culinary industry or the music industry, the fashion industry, like we
like
are the
we
trend
are
set.
the trend setting.
I think that's what it boils down to. And at the end of the day, just give like a simple shout out or something. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I think when the culture just sits there and becomes so absorbed, and you know when we get taken advantage of for the creativity that we have, and then there's no spin on it. So, just like Cliff said, like if you don't trademark it or brand it yourself, then you're not going to get that credit for it.
And I think you guys both brought up some really powerful points that when I really look at the cultural appropriation of it all, like I think the question kind of sits at the heart of our culture today, in my opinion. And at what point, like, does celebrating someone's culture cross over into actually taking from it? And I think you both did a great job of highlighting that. But for me, like sometimes, like just we see people wearing styles and symbols, in art that hold deep meaning, not only in our community but to other communities. And sometimes they do that with no understanding, of what those things represent. For me, that makes me ask: is that appreciation or is it exploitation? And I think for like that's where I kind of sit um in this uneasy space because for the people who are borrowing this from the culture, the harm really can go beyond like somebody's feelings being hurt, right? It's really financial at times, for people in these brands and the histories that they're trying to create. And then I think part of it too is kind of like it's like an aesthetic type, element where people are taking these things and they're turning them into fashion trends that are also stripped away of context or the respect of it, and that is another hard part. um so I think for me, when I look at it, I boil it down to the real question is really this: can we really honor our culture, you know and you don't include the conversation or profit sharing, right? We got to remove that and try to figure out a way to appreciate people's art, their work, and their platforms or whatever it may be, and figure out a way to uplift it and not really extract from it. Because I think the more we're diving into things, I think we're stripping away our culture. We're losing a lot of the purpose and the intent of it just for a financial gain. And Cliff brought up a very good point. Um, if I don't manage two mics up, this could become somebody else's, right? And I do have to put in my work. But at the same point in time, I'm hoping that people are really behind it and appreciating what we're doing and really trying to uplift it and share this. So this becomes something that's not just mine or Sam's or Cliff's. It's actually the communities, it's actually the culture. And I think in this part of the conversation, I think that should be the focus. So and anybody watching, I see some more people that come in. If you have any comments, please feel to go ahead and drop, your thoughts and on this topic. We would really love to hear from you. So go ahead and share. And we're going to transition to the next point. And we got some feedback going on here. We're trying to work on it, but I want to talk about sneaker culture. And this is kind of a two-part question. I think we all grew up on sneakers, and that was our part of our fad, coming up as kids. But I want to start, Sam, I'll start with you. Like when a major brand copies
Yeah.
of this, maybe a design or something like that, is it a smart business move, or again, does it just become a case of corporate? And now I want to get on the corporate side, corporate cultural appropriation.
I think it's on the corporate side because it's like with everything else that we've been talking about. Let one person come out with one model shoe. I think right now, like kind of like the chunky fat soles is like the brand right now or the move right now. So you go in the store and it doesn't matter if it's New Balance, Nike, Adidas, Puma, whoever. Like everybody got a sneaker with the doggone puffy sole on them and everything. So it becomes part of that marketability. And like, I need to strike on this while it's hot. Everybody else getting bread off of it. XYZ sales is up. So let me go ahead and bandwagon that. But then you have the flip side too, of, and it reverts back kind of to like where is the shoe culture right now? Because unless it's a retro, ain't nobody really talking about sneakers nowadays to begin with. You know what I'm saying? Like, um, I don't hear the excitement for a LeBron shoe, or before John Morant got in trouble, his shoe was kind of big. Um, or KD, but let a specific Jordan drop. The infrareds or infrared reimagines drop this weekend. I ain't gonna lie, I'm guilty. I got them. Wifey go to be pissed off at me, but I have them. So that's just what it is. But it's like, let me go back to Old Faithful, and I think at the same time, like, that creativity is lacking. We were just talking about Ye earlier, right? Let them come back with the OG, the Yeezy One Nike, for some shape, form, or fashion. People will go ape shit over that, just for the fact of how iconic of a shoe that was, at
Facts.
that time. People still gonna come over there and purchase that joint. It's just like everything is a carbon copy right now. So I think that's why people linger, for Dion's, when Primetime shoe came out, everybody was going crazy. They wanted the one with the face of Dion in it. They wanted the face of Shiloh, and they wanted the face of Shador. So it was like, I needed, almost like the Infinity Rings. They were trying to go ahead and get their gauntlet with it. You know what I'm saying? I brought up Jordan. Um, let AI come out. Like, Reebok got shoes and don't nobody fuck with them, but let the answer come out. And everybody going to be running around trying to get the answers and everything. So
Yeah.
I think because it's everything is the same now. So it doesn't matter what shoe you get. Everybody's kind of like, it's the previous, incumbents that has that's actually keeping the sneaker game alive, if I'm just going to be clear, from what I see. You know what I'm saying? You could walk around every day and somebody that have on a pair of Jordans, whether it's 3, 4s, 6s, 11s, doggone 12s. Don't nobody go beyond like 13 or something like that, because they get ugly as hell. It's just, be honest with the Jordans. It's like there was a decline once he retired. Let's be
Yeah.
clear on that.
As they turn into mellows and
Yeah.
and all that kind of.
But I think as like, but the culture is toxic within that realm too. Like, yeah, don't nobody want the 6 rings because they call those like the Air Jose's or something like that. Like, people clown. And hey, look, I used to have a pair of 6 rings too. I don't knock them. They're actually a really comfortable shoe. But like nowadays, like, you get clowned on something like that for having a pair of 6 rings on, and I didn't even know. I was like, what's going on? I was getting shitted on. I was like, what happened? So you need the 6s, not the 6 rings. Feel me? Yeah, like, I remember I stepped out with him. I thought I was looking clean, and somebody was like, damn, my boy got on some Air Ones, and I was like, what? Like, like, why are you doing, like, what did I do to you? So, like, I digress, okay? But like I said, I think because it's such a carbon copy trend, it's a cut and paste trend now. So I think that's what's messing up the sneaker culture. Um, and now it's just, they have to keep on. And I just feel like it's kind of an insult too, because like, everything goes haywire when these releases come out. You got to deal with bots. You have to deal with, if you want to get them in person, am I going to survive this? Because you already know that you go to these stores, the quantities are going to be limited and everything too.
Right.
And then somebody's going to get hurt. There might be a riot. So somebody might be the second to the last person in line, and they done sold out. So now I want to flip stuff and rip everything up. So we become detriment. And I know that a lot of these brands do that deliberately because of the mass chaos that happens and everything. But like, just push it out. You know what I'm saying?
Look,
Stop safe gating and keeping things at bay, because I know that you have a surplus over there. So go
Yeah,
ahead and
yeah.
push it out, and stop making it so, competitive and everything.
So look, so then you really kind of led into it, because I'm gonna ask Cliff this then, right? Because you talk about, you know, your Air Ones and everything, and knockoffs and different type of stuff. So Cliff, like, here we are 2026, right? So let's say a person, wearing a knockoff, or some people want to call them tribute shoes. Um, you know, is that like something that's stealing from the culture, or is it just simply participating in a system that gatekeeps access, for the masses, who are really into the culture?
Okay. Well, first off, I want everybody to stay in their financial lane, right? That's first and foremost,
Most
right?
importantly,
Yeah, don't go jumping out the window just because everybody says wear retros at $300-400 a pop, right? Even higher than that. Stay in your financial lane. That's first and foremost. Also, now if the company is creating the creator like with Jordans, right? They got the six rings. They got the six rings and the mellow versions, and Serena Williams is part of the Jordan group, and you had Tiger Woods. So you had different style of sneakers that were still Jordans, but they wasn't worn by Michael Jordan, and they are more affordable than the retros. So if you're using an outlet that way, it's like a parent company or a sister company that Jordan is attached to, and they're making more affordable sneakers, and they still have to have his logo on there in a way. Then that's cool, right? But if you're just blatant copying, and those are not Michael Jordans, those are more like Mitch Richmond's, and you still got a logo that looks like Jordan, but Mitch Richmond's built. Now it's like, okay, what are we doing here? You know what I mean? Stop it.
my
Back,
man said, Mitch Richmond.
so that's the difference. Create as a company, create. You have your high end, your mid, and your low end. Cool, but don't, if you're another company and you see an idea or you see a product that is popping with another company, don't just try to take the whole idea and change little things up like you're not going to notice. That's crazy. That's crazy.
Well,
You know,
I have to say that kind of really blends, because where you took it really lends or leads into really the next part then, Cliff. So we're talking about accountability versus annihilation, right? And we live in a world where public opinion matters so much. I want to ask you, I'm gonna toss it back to you, Cliff, then, since you led into it. How do we distinguish then, between an honest attempt, at accountability, like, seeking to learn, and some of us really want to learn, um, maybe even apologize and make amends, for the appropriation, and people's desire for total cancellation, that financial part, the professional and social annihilating, like, what is your thoughts on that? Like, where do you sit?
don't you can't put out a product and then hide from the public, right?
Mhm.
Stand on it. Okay, if you're taking an idea from a company, explain why. All right, because us as the public, we don't understand. We just go by sight, right? We're not. We wasn't with you when you was creating your action plan. So stand on it and talk about it to the public, because that's whose money you're taking, right? And then the company that you're taking the ideas from, give them their credit, right? Give them their kudos. Not don't make it seem like you're just taking an idea and trying to run with it, right? Uh, it's good. It's always good as a business owner. It is great to take ideas from other companies, right? And to help you, but give that credit, right? Because that company opened up the door for you. So you can use it, but give them their kudos. Don't just take it and run with it like you created it. You know, some companies, they don't mind you taking it as long as you give them the homage. Some companies, even if you give them that homage, they don't want you touching it at all. You know, but that's all on how they're backed up for. So, um, yeah, that's how I look at it. Don't hide from it. If you're gonna do it, stand on it and speak why. You know, you'll get more respect. People may not agree with you, but they have to respect the fact that of why you're doing it because you was outspoken and you didn't hide from it.
Man, that was a great ass response. I'm speechless because I don't have nothing to say on that one. Sam, your thoughts is
No, I mean I totally agree. If you go to stand 10 toes down, then stand 10 toes down, and take ownership. I think it's what I believe it's when things start to go awry. Then it becomes the blame game, or I want to take partial, responsibility, not full responsibility about something. Um, and then it becomes to the point that are we, because we brought it up before, like I think the thing is with a lot of brands or with a lot of, if everybody's doing it, then there's no need to have that type of accountability. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Because ain't nobody gonna go back to whoever the originator is and everything. But
Right.
it's when you have that sole person that, that's when we start looking at ownership. So I think it's more about what are we putting out there so it doesn't, so I don't get canceled, or so we don't have to sit here and worry about any um type of social correction. But if everyone's doing it, then I'm just enjoying the wave. So it's all about marketing, branding, what's published, what we're feeding people, and then what us as the consumer are sitting here and digesting too. I think those are like the big things, because if we don't sit there and entertain it, then that means that that brand might have to sit there and recourse or reshape what they're actually putting out there. But sometimes we get like so wrapped up with certain things, like it just starts to fester, and then it becomes like certain conversations and everything,
Point.
or we just buying the brand just to buy it or whatever. You
Mhm.
know, let's not wait till it's too late to sit here and be like, you know what, maybe I should have, dipped into that or invest into that.
Yeah.
Like, hold them. If you go to same thing, like if a brand's going to say 10 toes down, if we're going to hold somebody accountable, let's hold them accountable. You know,
Mm.
biggest instances right now is Target. It's crazy that you
Yeah.
sit there and Target had the most broadest. I don't want to dip into DEI, but they were so like diverse with their branding and what they were all actually offering, and
Yep.
then they fell into that DEI spectrum. Everybody's like, well, you know, boycott Target.
Right.
Praise everywhere, sitting clear as day. But I guarantee you, that there's probably been a couple of melanated people, even within the group, trying to tiptoe in with a hoodie on, going into Target, whether it's for conveniency or they just like their quality of goods or something like that.
Mhm.
Them as a corporation sat there and uh them as a corporation sat there and they're hunkering down where they at now, and they're dealing with the ramifications with it. They started their apology tour like 5 months ago, so but they haven't publicly came out and said, "Hey, I was wrong. You know, we want to go back to our roots and our branding and that segment." Like they still weather away from it, but over time, I think we just, well, they're not so bad, or well, they are right around the corner. So they get that pass. So
Yeah. Yeah. Hey Caesar, thank you for joining. I don't know if they're stealing or they're selling Molino whole brand from that girl. Get her shit on Timu. That one I'm not totally 100% familiar with, but thank you for sharing. I'm gonna have to sit down and educate myself on
Let's
the
see. See
specific.
what
Yeah,
up?
you know what I'm saying. See what's going on with that. But I appreciate the comment, man. Keep them coming. And what we're going to do now is we're going to transition because a lot of the stuff that we've talked about, uh, and it's about the statute of limitations on sin, right? And what we're
Mhm.
looking at, especially in this digital age, we're talking about mistakes. We had talked about, Kanye West earlier, in his situation, you know, does someone's past mistake a decade old tweet? Because we've seen a lot of that lately. A youthful ignorance sometimes. I know I've grown from some of my thoughts and comments that I may have made 10 or 20 years ago. But sometimes they, in today's modern age, those remain, as a reference point for whatever reason. In you guys' opinion, what should be the cultural statute of limitations for an individual who has, made a significant change and matured, in their life? And Sam, I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna toss that one to you.
Oh Lord, Lord, why me? Um, hey, look, y'all, I move different, and full disclaimer, ain't like I got a crispy clean, past or present. So I'm just gonna start with that disclaimer to begin with. If you if you my man 10 grand, you're gonna be my man 10 grand with my perfections and imperfections that I have. But I do think that there's a cutoff. For me, I just stopped dealing with certain folks.
Mm.
Oh, you know, and I hate to say these things, but like I don't listen to R. Kelly anymore. I don't fuck with Ye, even though I'm tempted, especially when my song "In from Paris" come on or "Ham" come on. It's like, but there's I feel like I know that people deserve a second chance. I know that I've been given a lot of them, but however, like if you take a dark turn, I feel like there's no coming back from. You know what I'm saying? But that's just me, and I think that's just like on my end. Like I just can't.
You ain't alone, bro. Because I feel the same way when it comes to certain things. R. Kelly,
Yeah,
one of the greatest songwriters ever. I don't
yeah,
listen to his music anymore.
yeah,
I'm just gonna be honest with
yeah.
you. Same thing with
Hey, look.
Diddy and Bad Boy and all that.
Mhm.
I struggle,
Yeah.
you know,
Oh
and it's
yeah.
not Biggie, but the
Mhm.
association. So I struggle.
Yeah.
So I'm with you.
Mhm. Yeah. I mean, it's the same thing with actors out here, um, sexually assaulting people, or essaying, all that stuff. Like it all ties in together. Uh, but that's just me. And Caesar, I see like you still rock with Lucy and R. Kelly, and like I said, I'm not taking away. This is just my views and opinions. If you still want to rock with them, because the same way that like I'm appalled by that and I disagree with that, you still have folks that were out there like rooting and are still on these folks' side too. So I'm not going to sit here and knock them or knock that, but if that's what you want to do, then that's fine. But like I don't rock that way. I don't think that there should be a certain statute of limitations. But like I said, if you go down that dark path, that like what you did is, and I know that we can forgive and forget, but that don't mean that I need to rock with you moving forward.
Fellas, 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 fellas. Um, it's another. These were some good questions, damn. I got to tell you first. First and foremost, it's another one that I'm in the middle about, right? I believe in second chances, right? On it's you gotta be tied up on this one, Dame. That's good, man, because I usually got a lot to say. I'm not gonna lie, I don't know if I'm somewhere and I hear R. Kelly's song, I'm not gonna be like, because I know how to I separated it so much in my mental that's the way I'm riding with it. As a human being, yeah, that trash, right? No ifs, ands, buts or about it. But the art, sometimes us as creators, right? Us as creators, our art speaks for us majority of the time because that's all we do, right? And then we slip up and forget that we're human and do something off the wall. Now you're condemned. Should you be condemned for life? Should you be given that chance that of forgiveness and see how you can make a comeback? That the reason why I said this question was so interesting because now you're talking about uh, um, feelings versus forgiveness, right? Um, and that's a great point that she brought up. You have a daughter or a granddaughter that is 100% going to make you. You're going to think about the situation and just dislike it, right? But what happens if the creator of a product that healed something, that healed someone, would you stop using that product that healed someone because the person that created that product is trash? That creator is trash, but damn, that product saved my brother's life, my sister's life. So what do you do, right? And I put it in that term just to take it away from sports and a topic like that. Let's put it
You mean
in,
the generic
put it
brand.
in that, yeah. Let's put it in that type of frame, right? And then listen, if you're faith driven, forgiveness. Once you forgive, you move on. Okay. Now there is I can forgive you, but I can never forget type of scenario. But it's that's a good one because Sam, I definitely understand where you're coming from. 1,000%.
And this is what I'm saying, Cliff. Like, you brought up very good points and very valid points, right? But when we bring up though, and even Bill Cosby, like the writing was in the wall, and the issue is that either we were oblivious, either we knew and we didn't say anything, and then it came out. You know what I'm saying? If you look back at some of the lyrics, like I was in one of my chat groups, right? And we just sit there and sometimes we just listen to music while everybody's playing video games or doing crafts or something like that. And the Diddy song came on, and like I couldn't even listen to it because like when he was like, take that, and I get this, gotta have it, and I'm just like thinking about like how he treated certain individuals when it came to that, or you hear the stories about how he treated people on his own label. Like it kind of resonated to the point like I can't even deal with this right now. I can't even listen to this right now. And it's not about. Let me see what he said. No. Okay. I'm glad that you said that. I haven't forgotten what's his name? Matt Masterson or whatever from doggone that 70s show. I haven't forgot about that damn not Emilio Estevez, Charlie Sheen. I haven't forgot about him. This dude walking around with all kinds of diseases and everything. Yeah.
I think he's talking about the whole thing.
Yeah. Huh? Yeah, but he's saying like we forgive other races, but we won't give ourselves a second chance. No, that's across the board. And if you think that way, then that's fine. But like we're just talking about people within our culture. Now, if you want to move outside the box, I could go on that topic too, because there's a lot of people, once again, I may have forgiven for what they did, but I haven't forgotten them. I won't watch a TV show. I won't listen to them on radio. I won't buy their brand. I don't. You brought it up as far as like I don't deal with Subway anymore because of Jeff Jarrett. You know what I'm saying? Or Jarrett from Subway. I don't deal with him. I don't deal with Subway specifically because of what he did and how that Subway's ass anyway. But I'm just saying, like, what? I don't deal with him. I stand on that. I stand on that. If we want to have a sandwich discussion, we can put that up for debate a little bit later. But that's what I'm getting to. Like, yeah, and I
for
get
those who don't know, for those who haven't caught on, Sam says fuck Subway. Okay, all right, go ahead, continue.
No, I'm just saying, like, I had to evolve. Especially being, I have a military background, peak machismo, and all that stuff. Like that was me in the 90s, and then the 2000s came, and like we didn't rebrand who we were, but we had to change what was put out there, because it wasn't all about like the rawness, or oh, we got to be tough, hide your feelings, hide all that stuff. You know what I'm saying? There was people that I looked up to as far as mentors and everything that did some fugazi stuff as far as like SA harassment and assaulting and everything, that I had to cut sling load on. And those were people that I wanted to emulate, but then when you see that other side, it's like I can't rock with you like that. You know what I'm saying? So it's not about, and it's not about how like I'm not safeguarding one particular brand or asking one particular person for forgiveness. Like you do something dirty, I mean, that's just it. Like I said, I know that there's a severity, but there's some things that you just can't go back on. And I think that's where it gets like real tough. You know what I'm saying? When you hurting or taking advantage of people, period. You know what I'm saying? You have somebody that's up and coming and want to make it big. Well, what are you willing to do? I've been in some of those seats. I was in a studio in Texas. I had a couple of groups. I had a rap group, a female group, and my R&B group. I introduced my female group to a studio that I was working at. These girls are like 15, 16, 17 years old, right? Here I am, and I was like 17, 18, right before I enlisted in the Army. I was like bringing them, introducing them to, the studio heads, and, it was a little chitlin fucking record label or whatever. But the way that they came out, they wanted me to leave out the room after these these girls' parents trusted me. It was like, yeah, Sam, go sit outside. We're going to have like one-on-ones with them. And I'm like, nah, I'm not sitting here leaving them. And ever since then, like I left that label. You feel me? Just because like I saw where it was going, and I wasn't going to put nobody in that, especially after I had their family like trust me. So it's not about picking and choosing. Like if you do something dirty, it's not going to fuck with you. Like I said, I might forgive you, but like stuff like that resonates. And I guess that's why I'm hard on Diddy or I'm hard on Kelly, because like I've seen that. You may not have, and you might be like, well, he's counseling, but I know what type of rabbit hole that could get into and that could go.
I think that you all bring valid points, and even see what valid points, and it's up to everybody's discretion, I guess, if you will. I just think for me, listening to this conversation, and I really wanted to, hear you guys express your points, because they were very valid. I share many of the points from both of you, but I think for me right now, I just think at some point we have to ask, are we punishing, someone who used to be, that guy, or are we refusing to see who they've become? Right. And I'm just taking it back to the beginning, because growth doesn't erase accountability, in my opinion, but forgiveness has to exist somewhere in the conversation. And that's really what I'm taking away from what the both of you are saying, and what C is sharing in the chat. And I just want to leave it at the point, like for me, I think if we don't allow people to evolve, then we're saying none of us ever can, no matter how hardcore we are. Because I do agree, R. Kelly and a lot of those things, I'm still working on that. But I just want to say that, that's not culture to me, right? That's just straight condemnation. And I think at some point we all have to work and evolve through it at some point. But everyone is, and I want to say it again, everyone is entitled to their opinion, when it comes to this conversation. But I thought this was a great point to bring up. And I want to go to the chat real quick, because I see
C is absolutely right. Yeah, no, he's right. For him beating on Cassidy like that, that's what did it for me on his behalf. All the other stuff, I just think that's Hollywood. You know what I mean? That's my opinion, because you've been hearing that what's going on.
That's what I'm saying.
When we was young. But that part of him beating on the women, Yeah, or beating on Cassidy. Yeah, that's you got to pack him off for that one.
Yeah, and even on the outside, like I said, once again, totally my opinion. The views that I express doesn't have nothing to do with Two Mics Up. So I'm just going to throw this out there. Hey, look, fuck Hulk Hogan. I'm just going to say it. Everybody wants you to sit there and be like, hey, don't take away for the fact that, he was a wrestler and what he brought to our generation and everything, but he was a racist too. You know what I'm saying? He didn't want to put other people, and it goes beyond that. He didn't want to even like bump other people ahead of him. He was so greedy and so infatuated. And I'm a huge wrestling fan. We done had, Let Me Talk podcast come up here, discuss a couple of things and everything. So like he doesn't I don't have no dealings with him anymore either. So like I said, we can forgive him, but like I can't forget the fact that he came over there and like belittled his daughter because she was dating a black man and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Put in all those comments, like at least he should have been like a baller or something like that, basically, so they could sit there and produce super babies or some shit like that. Like you don't forget certain things like that, and like I said, he doesn't get a pass either.
I agree, man. And hey, look, see, man, we appreciate you, bro. For really just joining in, man, and following along, man, and giving us some content, man, and some conversation. We really appreciate you, joining in and sharing your thoughts. It's much appreciated. Black judge wants 99 years in jail and over a $5 ticket. I mean, and again, these are things that are happening in our society. And I'm gonna have to go look into that one, Ryan Anthony. Caesar drops in there, Better Dream did some wild shit, and she rocking that thong came on. We all going to turn
like that. About your song with Dream, Dave. Wow, he's never gonna forget
that. Ah, man. For real. Yo, look, I'm just gonna move on to the next one. Because he right though. For real. So while we talking about all of this, right?
It's a struggle though. I hate to go back, but it is a struggle because, like, don't get me wrong. Like I said, I love that movement. I love the bad boy movement. You know what I'm saying? I appreciate everything that Kels did for us. And other artists, like Body Bumping was my jam back in the day when he was with Public Announcement. Well, when that's what he brought us, Public Announcement.
Yeah.
So it's just tough. But like I said, I'm just, that's my hill that I climb on, and I will stand on it till I die. So look, I'm not.
We all working on it, bro. We all working on it. But it brings to a point, though, even a lot of what we do, here on the show, using Two Mics Up as a platform, we do have a role, in social media. And I wanted to talk about that point, like the actual role of media in this cancellation that we're talking about. Like, so when that public figure is canceled, right? Is the traditional or social media platforms who are reporting on the situation, is that, in your opinion, a neutral message, or does it become an active participant that actually profits from the results, the resulting outrage and division and the demise of that person? And Cliff, I'm going to turn to you because you nodding and rocking, so I'm going to turn it over to you.
Yeah, no, I'm rocking because you need to get an award for these topics tonight. This topics is crazy, So for media, right? To me, you have to play the middle. You really don't want to show what card you're going unless you just on that clout, right? Unless you clout chasing, right? And you want to you like one side, or one side is funding you better than the other side is. So now you're going to roll with that side. To me, that's all wrong. To me, as in media, as social media, what we're doing, you need to be in that middle because you got to understand both sides, right? In order to have good feedback, in order to overcome a objection, play it equal. Don't play the favoritism, because what is that going to do? You're not going to have no balance. You're going to want to have one side that love you, one side that hate you. The side that love you, if they're quiet for a minute, that side that hate you is going to keep on giving it to you. You're going to keep on letting you have it. And then what? That noise, that negative noise, is going to outweigh the love that you felt you was getting more on one side because you chose that side. Stay in the middle. Stay in the middle. Have your certain questions. You can when you have an opinion, have the opinion on both sides. Don't be the one that gets judged when you're the host, right? I never understood that. Why side with one way unless you're bringing that other side on to just jump him or her or attack it. All right, but if you want to get true content out and true understanding of both sides, then this is like Sam be saying, this is Clifton's opinion only. Two mics up, right? Don't straight in the middle, and that's how I feel on that.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you. When it comes to that, because I feel that this platform, like Mike said, it is open to everybody. Right? I know I have my own opinion, and I'm happy to share them, when I can, and when it's something that really sits and resonates with me. And that's what I appreciate about you gentlemen, and that's the whole point of you gentlemen being here, because my opinion though is not the sole opinion. I want to broaden this so that anyone who's watching, they may agree with you, Cliff. Just like we talked about in the last segment, they may not, understand why Sam or I might be so hardcore when it comes to a certain thing, or, even see talking about now, being a grandfather. But that's okay. But this is really, I think, our role, and really my vision and my role is to create dialogue so that we can have these conversations, no fear, no striking you down because your belief is different than mine. I think for me in this platform, I think that's the right way to go. And we talk about it. Look, I've dogged Sam Donald out, Bo Nix, whoever it may be, right? But that's my opinion.
Right.
Again, I'm entitled to that, but I don't want to do it in a malicious way either, to where it's going to be detrimental to
Right,
them
that's what I'm talking
or to a person.
Yeah.
Right. And that's where I agree with you. And I think, we all have to be responsible, getting behind a mic each and every week, or whatever clips or whatever things that we post about. Yeah, posting fun, posting jest, but don't make it so detrimental to someone else to where it can potentially, be one of those things that go viral and take away from someone's livelihood or someone's, job or their passion. And I think for me, that's the most critical part. And Sam, I want to give you some time to go ahead and speak to that.
Things about money and clicks and views. Even C said it right there. Like, we don't have conversations because I think something comes out and the first thing that folks want to do is go to their phone. Now we need a credible source. Is it coming from TMZ? Then you have like the different labels or corporations that come out and publish some of this stuff. And of course they're sitting here catering to a specific demographic. And then that's when we, turn into like, are you team Stark or are you team Cap?
Right.
We get that civil war generated. And like neither side really have like the meat and potatoes of the conversation. We have just bits and clips and not the full resource. So like I said, ABC, Fox, TMZ, all these folks know what they're doing, because just as much as they sit here and put out the news, they're farm clicking too by going to, like I said, going to your YouTube or going to your TikTok. They have accounts over there too. And they're farming for those views because it's a monetization thing. And then that's where like that editorial sits there and gets amplified because of that monetization that comes behind. And I think that's the course, or that's the issue that we have. We don't have heavy substance. We just get nuggets of things, and then we put in our own interpretation what it should be, and then I think that's what leads to a lot of the cancellations, or the talk about cancellations, when we don't even have like all the resources to make that determination. You get one clip or one bite out of it, and then it's just a rabbit hill and it spirals out of control until we get like the full substance. You know, Jonathan Majors dealt with that. Everybody was sitting there ready to cancel him. He lost his Marvel deal and everything. And then it came down later, like my man was just trying to avoid the issue. You know what I'm saying? And you saw him, you know, become a track star for like 5 blocks. You know what I'm saying? But it was that presumption. We didn't have video footage or any of that stuff beforehand. You know, we just, you know, we heard certain things or saw certain things, and then you get like the full ramifications of it. And it's like, damn, my man was literally running from his life trying to avoid this situation. And he still got backlash and he still rebounded from it. You know, yeah, he had his I forgot the name of the movie. It was an A24 film that came out last year when he was a bodybuilder and everything. Or he was trying to become like a fitness instructor. I forgot the name of it. I really wish my son was down here. He would be able to tell me. But, you know, now he's on, I guess you could say, his redemption arc. You know, as far as like trying to, you know, he's still paying for that, even though you had like physical proof that, you know, he minimized things. He did pick her up, you know, put her in a vehicle and everything.
Right.
But like he wasn't the aggressor. He was just trying to avoid the situation, get her in a vehicle, get her home safely. And then, but I think, you know, and that's just like one small item. You know, there's or that's just one topic right there. But I do think that it becomes very click farmish. And then that's what we deal with until we get like the actual facts and everything. So, like I said, these companies, these media outsources and everything, they know what they do. You know what I'm saying? Because they're trying to get views and clicks just like everybody else. And then it becomes oversaturated. It just takes so long to get to the truth to begin with. You know?
Man, you said it, man. I mean, powerful conversation tonight. You know, and you gentlemen really took it to a whole nother level, to a whole nother gear. And Caesar, you know, he drops in the comments, you know, he was on defense and it was on tape, you know, and he got slammed for it, you know, and it's just the world that we live in, and unfortunate world. Let me say it that way. It's the unfortunate world that we live in. And I just think that a lot of times when it comes to today's media, like I was saying, you know, earlier, I think it's very important that, you know, we pay attention to the potential of, you know, it isn't just why we cancel, right? It's really about who benefits when we do cancel them, right? Because sometimes the anger we feel, it is real, but like in this conversation at the end, we talk about Jonathan Major. It's the narrative that's driving it that might not be real, and we have to be very careful of that, because you can potentially ruin someone's life and their career because everything was taken away from him basically in an instant, you know, and it's unfortunate. But we do need to sit down and continue to have this conversation. And hey, look, man, see, we're gonna go ahead, man. Make sure we you can check us out every Tuesday. You know, check out the alerts and everything. But I can tell you, we here every Tuesday night, 8:00. You know, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch. You know, two of the most powerful gentlemen that I know, the most intelligent gentlemen. Two of the funniest dudes I know too. You know, because we got some cut up and we got some bullshit coming too. You know, we got to lighten the mood. But right now, Black History Month, we trying to really hone in on these things. And I appreciate you all, you know, joining. I see some more people in the background. Hey, don't be afraid. You know, if you have some questions, thoughts, or comments, feel free to throw them in there, man. We here for it. This is not just for us. This is for you as well, our community. We really appreciate you joining in. So we at the back end, man. We about to close out, but before we go, I can't leave without letting my brothers leave their closing remarks and share their social media and what they got coming up next. So I'm gonna go ahead and start at the bottom. I'm gonna start with you, Cliff, man. Go ahead. Any closing remarks, closing words, anything you'd like to share?
Yeah, man. I just want to reflect, right, and get some flowers out. I'm a, I feel I'm a blessed dude, man. I feel I'm in the middle, right? First off, shout out to CSC. Shout out to Sean and Chris, my partners that we do as you know, Dame, we do a podcast on Facebook on Thursdays called All Things Real Estate, Mortgage, and Insurance, which we go over topics and current views of the real estate world and the insurance world and how it combines. So shout out to my brothers on that side. I got another side. Shout out to my brothers in Richmond, Encore Insurance Group, Calvin Royster and Rod Powell. Right, we pulled together and as partners to take insurance brokerage to a whole nother level. We got commercials that's coming out that's going to be viewed soon. I mean, we're forming a big team, making a lot of big noises. So, and then on my other side is I got you two, my brothers. I got Dame and Sam. So with two mics up and podcasting, that brought me into a world that, listen, I never thought that I would ever get in, right? It was always fun to come in and chime in and listening to you guys, but to be a part of this on an every week thing, this is fun, right? This is what I like doing. So to be surrounded in a whole of all these group of brothers that I just named, shout out to you guys and thank you for bringing a brother into your realm, everyone.
Man, much appreciated, bro. And listen, y'all. If y'all don't know, like Cliff just said, y'all can go ahead and check him out. You know, he's doing big things, everywhere, all places, all the time. He is one of our co-hosts. You can check him out at TD3 Insurance Agency. He's the founder, he's a mentor, he's a community leader, co-hosted Two Mics Up, man. If you want to talk business, definitely, Cliff is your guy. Reach out to him if you want to know more about insurance. Get your insurance game together. Get yourself tight. He's your man, Cliff, man. Appreciate you, brother. I got to transition to our other co-host and my other brother, man. Again, another longtime friend and family. Big A, Sam Adams. Sarge, any closing remarks or anything you want to share before we get out of here?
Hey, look, I love these discussions because, like I said last week, I like to bring the funny. I think we all know that. But at the same time, these are discussions or topics that still resonate, to this day, in our culture, in our environment, in our community. And there's nothing wrong with having open discussions about these topics. We're all not going to agree on the same thing, but just to have that open forum to sit here and talk about it when a lot of doors are becoming closed or when they're trying to sit here and silence us, I don't take that for granted one bit. So I appreciate, Dame, you putting me on this platform, having Clifton in the fold too, and the viewers that are out there giving us y'all perspective too and everything. I appreciate that as well. As far as reaching out to me, like, look, Twitch, Steam, IG, Sarge Gaming, look me up. My government name is on Facebook, so if you want to holler at me, go ahead and do so. But I look, these are one of the few nights that I have that I look forward to kicking it with my brothers, having a good time, parlaying. So, thank you. I mean, I've been rocking with you for a few years now. I told you I was the Batman to your Robin. So, or I'm the Robin to your Batman. Go ahead and fix that.
Listen, man, we couldn't be doing this without either one of you. Like, real talk. And for those of you, Sam shared his information, but if you into gaming, if you into getting it, you like to cook, you want to chef up, Sam is your guy, man. Hit him at Sarge Gaming on IG. My brother's a 25-year veteran. I appreciate him for his service to allow us to be doing what we're doing here each and every week. Like I said, he's a gamer, he's a cook, he's co-hosted Two Mics Up, and Sam keeps it real with real talk all the time, and that's what I appreciate most about him. He's been the same way from day one, and all of these years later. So he's always been the same. So I appreciate you, gentlemen. And as we close out, ladies and gentlemen, I'm gonna share a couple of things with you about tonight's conversation. And I just want you to know that tonight's conversation wasn't about, drawing a hard line between right and wrong. Let's just be clear about that. It was really about asking the harder questions, in between. And I think we did a great job of doing that tonight. We started out talking about, from Urban Outfitters to Kanye West, we seen brands and people just stumble, right? And sometimes learning, sometimes falling, even harder under the weight of, just public judgment. But beyond the headlines, we have to ask, when does calling out become canceling? When does accountability become annihilation? This isn't just about, sneakers, fashion, or fame. It's about how our culture itself gets marketed, copied, and sometimes stolen in the name of creativity or profit. You know, the same cultural, I guess, energy that builds billion-dollar empires often comes from communities like ours that still don't get a seat at the table. And that brings us back to the heart of everything, in my opinion. What we talked about mostly tonight, cultural appropriation or appreciation, excuse me. Maybe the line shifts depending on who's holding the pen, right? And we talked about that. Could be, who's talking behind the mic or who's holding the camera. But one thing's for sure, ladies and gentlemen, intent matters less when the impact cuts extremely deep. But I want to leave you, saying that I still believe people can grow, because that's the most important part. And I think that's the underlying factor. Brands can evolve, and the internet has a long memory, but we don't have to live forever in everyone's worst moment. So thank you all. I'm Damon Cunningham. I'm your host. You can check us out, like I said, next week, Tuesday, 8 p.m. We're going to come back with another Black History conversation. I appreciate you all tuning in. And like we do at the end of each and every show, I want to leave you all with a couple of things. May you all stay safe, stay blessed. Mike's out.
Double O 007.